Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Rev Theory. So we just got our MGW short throw shifter installed. So I want to give you guys a quick little first thoughts impression video on this. So just for clarity, this is the MGW standard spec with the long shifter linkage, not the short one. I kind of found it annoying when I was like looking all over YouTube and trying to find reviews on this. Nobody would tell you which one they had. So when you're trying to look at how far the shifter stuck up or the length of the throws, just looking at it visually, it didn't really mean anything because they didn't tell you which spec they got. So yeah, this is the race spec, not the X spec, and is a long shifter arm, not the shorter throw arm or whatever. Let me hook it up so you guys can kind of see a POV drive, and then you can kind of see me shift around. I'll chat more about what I think about the shifter. I probably only have like maybe 50 to 75 miles on the shifter. So this isn't going to be like a full scale, long-term, in-depth review. I don't think that'd be fair to you guys if I, just drove this for a little bit and then give you a full review. And I want to make sure I do you guys and the product justice. So this is really just a first impression video. And again, because I want to be super clear with it, this is the MGW short throw shifter that is the race spec with the long shifter throw arm, or whatever they call it, not the short one. So of the four, this is one that keeps the longest throws of the shifter. And the reason I went with that is because this is a street car. I don't know if I really like the 1 centimeter clicks of like the X-Spec, super short throw arm. I feel like of course, it's probably really beneficial if you're actually doing like, majority racing or majority, strip time or whatever. But for just a daily car, I want to keep the throws long because that's kind of the fun of a manual. So first off, driving this, I'm actually pretty impressed with it. So when I was, going through reviews and trying to gather as much information as I could with this shifter, there's some people that really did not like it. So it does stiffen up the shifter a little bit. It's a little bit notchier, but I don't think it's really all that different than from the stock MT82 shifter. So the throws are noticeably shorter for sure, and the shifter itself doesn't sit quite as tall. I'd say it's probably about a half an inch lower, but it's still MT82 feeling, if that makes sense. It doesn't totally feel like a different transmission. It just feels like a more robust shifter. Now, it is true that NVH, or noise, vibration, harshness, does increase. Oh, we got something going on up here. But the NVH does increase when you go to the MGW shifter. But one, that makes sense, and two, that's not particularly a bad thing. So one of the problems with the stock the stock MT82 shifter is that it's remote mounted. So what happens is, your engine is not fully stationary. Your engine has vibrations, it has harmonics, it has slight imbalances, and even will rotate on its own axis. So when the engine does all those movements, the transmission, which is directly bolted to the engine, is also making those movements as well. With a remote mounted shifter, the shifter itself does not follow what the transmission does. So when you get into really high RPMs, all those movements, those harmonics, those vibrations, those axis twisting forces on the engine that's applied to the transmission, the shifter does not follow that. And that's where you get all those micro misalignment issues, especially high in the RPMs that cause gear lockout, weird gear chattering, just kind of, the undesirable stuff like that. So the NVH does go up, but that's not really necessarily a bad thing. The vibrations that come with the shifter that you can feel, and even just visually see, looking at it while you're idling, that's not like I said, it's not a bad thing. You want the shifter to follow the vibrations of the engine, and that's what keeps your alignments correct when your synchros engage, especially at high RPMs, to help resolve those weird issues that the MT82 has. So yes, it is true that the shifter has more NVH, but that's not a bad thing. And actually, I kind of have some preference for it. Maybe it kind of sounds like coping, but I don't know. It does feel a little bit more visceral, a little bit more raw. in terms of driving the car. Now, another thing I saw and read about this is that people say it's like driving a totally different car, like it totally changes the experience of shifting through gears in the Mustang. And to be honest, like I don't feel like that's really all that far off. It definitely is a very different experience. It still feels like an MT82, but it is definitely improved. And I am just on first impressions, I am really really liking the shifter. So I've tried some, and I'm not going to do it right now. It's super rainy out, so we're not going to go we're not going to go crazy here. But I have done some 2-3 shifts at red line, just banging through the gears, and so far it's been solid. I on all my MT82 experiences, that is something that was the most prevalent for me is getting that 2-3 red line shift lockout, where when you come from 2, push into 3, you don't you don't go into gear. It stays in neutral, and that is super frustrating, especially when a race is on the line and you're about to lose. Okay, but yeah, ever since it's only this, on my 3 or 4 attempts on doing 2-3 shifts at Redline, I've not had that lockout issue, and that feels really good. So another thing that people go for with these MT82s that is a big problem with them is the clutch. The clutch is something that just isn't robust enough for any Coyote, especially if boost comes along. So I want to make a better video, kind of explaining why the clutch is such a problem. Right now, I don't have full understanding of that, so I need to do more research for you guys so I can actually get that information out there to you. But that is another thing, and I probably do have another clutch coming. Well, I guess my plan is we'll see how long the stock clutch lasts on the Whipple when that gets installed. But maybe I fry the clutch and replace her. Maybe I just pull the clutch early before its end of life, and then swap to some, I don't know, maybe McLeod RXT twin disc clutch. So other thoughts on the shifter is it kind of sounds sort of cliche, but it is a little bit more confidence inspiring. Um, ramming through the gates, which one you don't want to do a lot, right? You want to be relatively slow, smooth as fast when you're just doing your typical driving, but when you're banging gears, trying to go as fast as you can. I do have a lot more confidence, and I just have a feeling that when I pull from first to second, I'm not going to get gear chatter, and when I go from 2 to 3, I don't get any lockout, and then up at the higher gears, I don't get any synchro grind. So far, again, it's very limited. I have less than 100 miles on the shifter, but so far it's been fantastic. First impressions have been really really good. I do have to get a new shift knob because no fault to Danny's Performance. They're the guys that installed it, but I put a way too much thread locker when I installed the original knob. So this one's kind of chewed up. So I just wrapped some elk guitar around it while I wait for the new one to come in the mail. But yeah, overall, first impressions pretty good. I'm definitely going to get a video for you guys on a more long-term review on it and see how it does. But this car only has like 2,500 miles, so there's still some break-in with the MT82 itself, and probably some break-in with the MGW short throw shifter as well. Hoping that it loosens up a little bit. It still kind of feels gummy as you're sliding through the gears, before you hit the gate, but that initial movement still feels a little bit gummy, and it doesn't feel as free or loosened up that it typically has with stock shifters on MT82s in my experience. But appreciate you guys having into the video. I'll see you guys in the next one.